Hi, I'm Nate Allen. I'm the Associate Dean of Instruction at Central Community College in Hastings, Nebraska. I'm also a certified journeyman farrier, and I'm going to talk about a couple of different topics today. The first part of this is understanding the equine foot and how it functions. So we're going to go back to the basics and do a little bit of an anatomy and physiology session. You know, it's always kind of nice when you live in a state where the seal of Nebraska has a blacksmith in the middle of the seal. So, you know, obviously we know how important horses are, and we should also probably realize how important the farrier is. So the topics for the first part of this, we're going to do a little session on terminology, then we're going to do some anatomy and look at some dissected feet so we can understand how things are put together, how they're structured. And I think the reason that's so important is if you understand the anatomy, some of the decisions about methodologies and whether or not to shoe or whether or not your horse should go barefoot all of a sudden begins to fall into place and make a lot of sense if we understand the anatomy. And then we'll do a component on physiology, talk about foot expansion a little bit, and actually show you some feet through a videotape where the back of the foot expands and the impact that that has on the foot as well as the horse's shoe. So terminology. Oftentimes we refer to the hoof and foot as the same structure, but I think it's important that the hoof really, important to understand that the hoof is really only the outer parts of the foot. There are 5 main structures to the hoof, which we'll look at here in just a minute. But when we talk about the foot contains all of the hoof parts, the outer structures, plus the internal structures. You know, everything from bones to tendons to ligaments to blood vessels, all the cushions of the foot, the cartilages of the foot. Everything that's contained from the hairline down is considered the foot. The digit then would be the structures, everything from the fetlock down, or what some people refer to as the angle, but everything from the fetlock down is considered the digit. In understanding that, we begin to see how some of the blood vessels and other structures of the foot have the term digital as part of their name because they originate around the area of the fetlock. Trimming then is just merely removing the excess growth of the hoof. Paring specifically relates to trimming of the frog and the sole on the bottom of the foot. And so when you hear a farrier say, I'm going to pare the frog a certain way or I'm going to pare the sole a certain way, that's just removing the excess growth, or in other words, trimming the frog and the sole. Dressing the hoof wall refers to putting the horse's foot up on the hoof stand and then actually rasping on the outside of the hoof to remove any flares and to make that foot is strong and sort of collect it and remove those flares and possibly even round up the foot if the horse is going to be barefoot. Shoeing then obviously is applying some kind of protective covering, typically aluminum or steel, to the horse's foot for any variety of reasons, and again we'll talk about that here when we get to that section. Okay, so on the anatomy